So all worms, we're going to take a look at, like I said, 3 different phyla have bilateral symmetry. So we know that means that they have 2 similar sides. This also is the first phyla that we've gotten to that are going to have bilateral symmetry, which means that there is going to be some type of head and there's going to be some organ systems involved in this. The thing that we call as the head region, we call that cephalization. So we're going to be using this vocabulary term going forward to refer to the head region, which is kind of where the nerves may be stored and go throughout the rest of the body. So let's start with the first phylum, which is the Phylum Platyhelminthes. You might hear it pronounced as Platyhelminthes too. It's kind of one of those words that can be pronounced either way, really regionally where you are throughout the world. I'm probably going to incidentally flip between the two just because I've had it presented to me in both ways. But if you think of the platyhelminths as the flatworms, then that is kind of the more common or main place name for that. So let me give you the characteristics of this. And if you happen to be at home, I would highly encourage you to pause the video and take down all of the information and then listen to me, because that is what I'm going to do in class, because I'm going to show all the information. I'm going to have everybody fill it out, and then we're going to talk about it piece by piece. So, like we mentioned, the platyhelminths are going to have 2 sides that are very similar. So that's why it is referred to as bilateral symmetry. And there is cephalization, which is there's that concentration of sensory organs into the head region. So on our platyhelminths here, you can see this is going to be the cephalization or the head region. So this is now where I would actually like you to pause the video if you're listening at home, so you can just copy down the information and then you can listen to me. So all platyhelminths or all flatworms are going to have a body that's protected by a cuticle. So that's a layer of tissue that will surround their body to protect it. How they digest, they actually have this muscular pharynx. It's a separate little tube that comes out of their body, and it will pull food into their gastrovascular cavity. So it's almost like one of those bendy straws, if you think about it, like, the kinds you might get for like milkshakes or sodas or whatnot. It's this tube that's kept inside their body. I'm going to show you a video in a minute, and they actually exert it from or extend it from their body, and they use it to kind of like suck up their food that way to bring into their gastrovascular cavity. So yes, we do have now a head region because these organisms are bilaterally symmetrical. So there is that cephalization. The interesting thing that I want you to note up here, and we'll label them in just a minute, is the actual presence of 2 eye spots. So you have an eye spot here and an eye spot here. And then connected to each eye spot, you can see our lateral nerves, lateral meaning it goes down the length of the body, that go from those sensory organs down to the rest of their body. This is also something, once again, too, which makes them have bilateral symmetry. So how do they breathe? How do they exchange the oxygen and the carbon dioxide? So once again, there is diffusion that is used. So remember, things like to move from areas of high concentration to low concentration. So the platyhelminths will not have lungs or anything, but the gases will be exchanged by once the cells have to, if they have low concentrations of oxygen, the surroundings that they're in will move from the higher concentration of oxygen outside of their cells and into their cells. And that's also how the carbon dioxide will leave their cells as well. They get rid of the waste products that they use. They have these specialized cells called flame cells that remove the liquid waste from their bodies. And these organisms are pretty interesting in the fact that they actually can regenerate. So that would be like the asexual reproduction that they do. So if you were to take a platyhelminth, like a planaria, and cut it in half and leave it for a couple of days, you would see that it would actually regenerate or regrow the cells that were damaged. And they reproduce sexually. They are actually hermaphroditic, which means that they have both female and male reproductive parts. So it's not like you need a female worm and a male worm to reproduce. 2 worms, since they're hermaphroditic, can create new organisms. So let's label your diagram to make sure that you have all of the parts labeled. So like I mentioned earlier, the top two parts, those are the eye spots. And connected to each of the eye spots is their lateral nerve cord that's going to bring that information that they're absorbing from those light spots, through the rest of their bodies. They also were going to have that same type of digestion area, the gastrovascular cavity, like we've explored in the Cnidaria phylum. And they are going to have that pharynx, which is that muscular tube-like structure that they extend from out of their body and to kind of use that to suck up their food to bring into their gastrovascular cavity. There we go. And then just one other thing that I did want to point out is that down here at the bottom, you can see where it says free living flatworms are able to move with rhythmic muscular contractions. So we're going to observe some planaria in class, but I want you to note that these are mobile organisms, and what they're going to do is they're going to use muscular contractions to move through the liquid environments that they live in. This concludes the notes for 3.4. I'm going to attach in the classroom how they eat, so make sure you check out that other video if you were absent today.